like and subscribe. Now, people who work at 5-star hotels, what type of sh goes on that management doesn't want people to know. A friend of mine works for a small luxurious hotel in London. He told me the concierge system there is absolutely absurd. Money buys everything. Anything the clients want, clients get. They are told never to say no. Worst case they say I don't think this is really appropriate. Obviously drugs and escorts are a classic. He showed me 20 phone numbers of drug dealers in his phone. To be able to get whatever drugs to the customers. He never buys though, only gets people in contact. And for harder tasks, he goes through professional concierges who charge a lot. You want a new Prada dress at 2 AM for the party you are about to attend? Sure thing. Let's wake a few people up, charge triple the price and split the benefit between people involved. Have a good night, madam. You want tickets for the Wimbledon final that takes place tomorrow. You have £20k. Enjoy the game, sir. But in some cases, they can't satisfy the customer. So when a couple of clients came back drunk asking him to have sex with the wife while the husband was watching and filming, he felt like it was a good time to say I don't think this is really appropriate. I spent 10 years in the boutique and 5-star hotel world. Got stories for days. But here is my favorite that sums up hospitality. Former anyways. Our concierge was next door. Had all the connections. This dude could get you into the French Laundry same day. He would often greet guests with sangria and sprigs of mint from his garden. Sometimes he had lemon slices from his tree too. He loved to tell guests all about his garden and they ate it up. Yeah, that's all bullsh. Mint, lemon, and any other garnish we got from the local grocery store. The sangria, cheapest boxed stuff we could find. But he sold the story like no other. At the end of the day, it worked. I'm convinced most people don't know the difference between good and shit liquor. I did wine sampling at stores and people would enjoy a wine until you told them it was $6. Or the opposite, it was gross, until they found out it was $30. Corporate intern events, where the kids would get plied with alcohol. Infuriating. We had one company annually bring 80 interns as part of a site visit tour, and it was a nightmare. I was sure someone would die every year. One year there were 3 hospitalizations though, and one of the boys sent the hospital bill to the hotel. To be clear, the entire F&B team knew about the event, and were very vigilant about refusing service. We were not involved, or liable in his medical issue. The audacity, particularly because he and all of his intern colleagues trashed everything. We had to prepare the lobby by removing sculptures and porcelain plant pots. One year we started always removing a kind of sharp-cornered bookcase because too many drunk interns had hurt themselves on it. There were bodily fluids everywhere and linens destroyed beyond continued use. Plumbing broke daily. There was always smoking damage in some rooms, but all the adults were useless, of course, and all adults were culpable in providing alcohol to the underage people. The company accepted the bill for the damage every year and always came back. And we would add literally everything we could. We would tack weeks worth of room nights onto their bill because we had to keep dozens of rooms out of service while damage was repaired. The company paid for everything we camped for complaining guests too. They also paid for anything we had to replace, and they were so used to the damage fees we would just throw things in there sometimes. Like a treadmill finally broke during their residence. But did one of their guests break it? Don't know. Didn't care. They bought us a new treadmill. We were one of 3 hotels on this annual tour. Here's one taken from the opposite end. I'm really bad at rolling joints. I left the shtai joint with my stash and papers on the dresser. I come back to a nicely rolled joint. I don't know if any was missing, but thank you Hard Rock LV staff. A joint effort. I'm reading these while laying in a hotel bed and I don't like this. I have worked at 2 hotels that are rated by Forbes, formally mobile, and randomly inspected frequently, and there is a very specific checklist of things the hotel/restaurants must do/offer in order to keep their rating. We always had to be suspicious of any single diners because they could possibly be inspectors. So you could be a regular Joe Schmo, but if you are dining alone you are going to get the 5-star treatment. Once we had a particular woman staying at the hotel and somehow management figured out and confirmed she was an inspector. They literally took security cam stills and printed them out to give to all employees so we would know who she was. I still remember her name was Katrina. Something else interesting, one of the 5-star restaurants I worked at in a 5-star hotel would frequently be closed for private events. There was usually a contract written beforehand stating the group must spend a minimum amount of money. We got automatic gratuity on whatever that minimum was, but the goal was to go over, so we would make more money. The people at the events usually didn't know these details. They weren't the ones paying, and towards the end of the night, if they hadn't reached the minimum, we would have to start pouring the most expensive wine and liquors to meet the goal. Who wants a few rounds of Macallan 25 doubles etc. And people still tipped cash on the open bars, so it was easy to walk away with $500 a night in tips after those parties. It was the easiest money I ever made. Eat a Macallan. Ha. Please forgive me, I'm a lowly tequila drinker. I worked at one of the premier hotels at a ski resort in the country. Top 10. Met celebrities, royalty, politicians, athletes. Hockey players are the nicest athletes by a wide margin. Royalty is great or more likely awful. A list celebrities want to be left alone or treated as just another person. Politicians are bigger a-holes when they're with their families. Saw lots of sex, drugs, underage drinking, escorts, the usual. I was most amazed by how nice staff were to guests when management continually made their lives harder and shittier. We'd just let it roll off our backs and keep smiling until we just quit. We were paid so little and respected so little by management. If you weren't thick-skinned, then you quit by week's end. Best thing I saw was the hotel dog. Think alpine dog that people can pet. Kids can get woken up by him in the morning. Plays on the ski slopes, etc. Well, he escaped his pen, made straight for the high-end restaurant, and went hog wild. Jumped on a few tables and scarfed $100 steaks like they were M&Ms. Me and another guy saw it. We worked during the ski day and cleaned up into the evening, so it was just him and I finishing up an aisle apartment at the time, which was by the dog's kennel. We both saw he was going to escape and we could have stopped it, but we just wanted to watch the world burn. Greatest day of work there by far. I worked at a Ritz-Carlton a few years back. It's literally the same as anywhere else. The hotel staff is amazing at their job, but on their personal time they're just as effed as everyone else. The kitchen staff had a few folks with drug issues and had to be sent home a couple times because of it. In my time there I saw 2 waiters get fired due to embezzlement. The turnover rate for management was very high because they didn't pay enough for the area. The staff parties were wild to say the least. We weren't allowed to greet celebrities by name since they wanted to be anonymous, so we would use their alias that day. Some were greeted by prostitutes or escorts who were always super nice to everyone. A regular would rent out a room for a day, once a month, and make 30-40k that day from clients, celebrities, business guys, you name it. Crazy. I've always wanted to know, how does a celebrity's alias for a booking get advised to the hotel? Does their assistant or whoever makes the reservation say that the booking is for Jeff Megastar or whatever the celeb's name is, but they will be traveling under Phil McCracken or whatever? And how does the person doing the check-in know that the person standing in front of them, who they may or may not recognize, is going to be under McCracken? I've worked with a few celebrities and athletes in the past, in a different capacity than hospitality. The ones I worked with always used fake names. Plus their room was actually reserved and paid for by their assistants, so their name never showed on paperwork. However, since they were listed as staying in the room, their name was added to the card, and that's where the fake name comes in. One guy, the late author Tom Clancy, always used the name of his lead character, Jack Ryan, when getting a room. Never ever ever, I repeat, use a chocolate fountain from a hotel or banquet hall. Picture this, it's an expensive Sunday brunch. Well, little to me just double-fisted strawberries directly into that chocolate, bit into both strawberries then triple dipped into the chocolate again, and some old rich lady just sneezed on it, and somebody else just dropped their snack into it. The best part, that chocolate gets strained and saved for the next week's brunch. Chocolate is way too expensive to throw away. Chocolate also does this thing where it'll seize if it has the wrong moisture content. from people dipping fruit, and the juice is going into the chocolate, so it'll get so thick it won't run through the machine. Wanna know how they fix that? They add canola oil until it's smooth again. So, yeah. Next time you're at a wedding and they have a chocolate fountain, think of this post. Think of this post when you dip into that dirty watered down with oil chocolate. Bed bugs. Every single hotel from rundown motels to 5-star resorts has dealt with bed bugs, and I've never seen one. How do they deal with them so quickly and effectively? Massively exterminate them by cleaning the entire room. Hotels have a protocol for dealing with a bed bug infestation, because it can destroy the hotel/corp reputation and even bankrupt the company. Bad news travels fast, so if it gets out it's incredibly bad for years. So they go scorched earth on the room. Steam cleaning, massive chemical cleaning, bagging everything up, etc. Cleaning companies come in, etc. They take it as serious as anything else bad that can happen. It's a terrible issue PR-wise. My so worked for a fancy hotel. The building owners, not the chain, the actual building itself, came to visit. He was on the Forbes billionaire list. He was a nice man who had buffet lunches every day and tipped every staff members he saw a crisp $100 every time he saw them. Housekeeper walking past, $100. Bartender setting up, $100. Shift swap, $100 on the way in and out. This is how you billionaire. Seriously, it means little to nothing to him. Will at the very least make someone else's day, and probably make him the favorite guest of all time to the staff. They'd be falling over themselves to give him good service, and not just in the greedy let's see how much money I can get out of him way, but in the this is a good dude, I'll go the extra mile to help him, just to show my appreciation way. Worked in 5-star hotels in Beverly Hills. Boy do I have stories. Sheik picks up a hooker in the bar, takes her to his room. She roofies him and steals tens of thousands of dollars of cash, watches and valuables. Husbands who will say hello to staff with their mistress on their arm on Thursday night and their wife on Friday night. Famous teen celebrity left a room full of needles and various drug paraphernalia behind for housekeeping to clean up. Middle Eastern royalty ships in multiple Ferraris and Lamborghinis to the hotel from their home country to drive for the week. Caught drag racing later that night by the cops in the neighborhoods of Beverly Hills. Largest checkout bill I've ever seen was roughly $2 million for guests who rented out an entire floor of suites for 3 weeks. Promptly paid via wire transfer. Had to procure $100K cash for a guest whose wife wanted to shop on Rodeo Drive the next morning. The local bank doesn't even have that much. Had to get an armored car from the Central LA Bank branch to deliver. The list goes on. Are credit cards not a thing in the last one? Think of the Southwest points they're missing out on. How exactly do you just get an armored car to come make a delivery? That seems like a lot of money to just be picking up and driving around impromptu. Or do you send the bill for the truck to the client who wanted the money? Depending on how much the client has invested, the bank will just eat the cost to keep them happy in business, where it is. A lot of lonely people going on vacation to end their life. Happens a lot but is never mentioned on the news. I've left the do not disturb sign on the door all day because I wanted a quiet day alone. And around 4 PM housekeeping plus a manager came and knocked to do a welfare check for this exact reason. Note that I've spent a lot of time in hotels and have only had that happen once, but it makes sense I guess. Point I'm very private and travel alone. My first thing is to stick the do not disturb sign up. I was in and out, B&B, would have breakfast, talk with the staff and other guests, hid my festival, etc. I was super annoyed when I came back the 4th day to my room being cleaned and the sign ignored. It never occurred to me that maybe they were just checking up. I've honestly never thought of this, but it makes total sense. Yup, the worst is you being the last person they talk to. They don't confess about taking their life, only complain about family not supporting them for whatever reason. Londoners are the highest risk in the hotel my friend works at. Some companies hold events for their workers and don't allow them to get rooms beyond the 3rd floor. I live near Niagara Falls, New York, and unfortunately this is a true fact. Before the modern era it was a really popular spot for travelers to take their lives, and the only evidence that it happened were abandoned cars and carriages, as it was a really popular suicide site in the late 1800s. It's a horrible way to go. You drown at the Horseshoe Falls, or you get bashed against rocks at the American Falls, and an unknown but likely large percentage of bodies are never recovered. Back in pre-border patrol days, people used to jump off the Rainbow Bridge that connects the US, Canada, and either die from the impact with the Niagara River or were swept into the rapids and whirlpool to drown. It's always sad to hear of someone going missing because of the possibility of suicide, and just a couple weeks ago it happened with a young college student from New York City who did it over a breakup. They only know it happened because the police dogs traced her right to the water's edge. I only wish someone had seen her and could have persuaded her not to do it, especially when she had so much life left to live, and no relationship is worth dying over. Worked at the high-end restaurant at a ski resort that hosts a famous film festival. Lots of sex in the walk-in coolers, but never the people you'd want to walk in on. I never caught anyone in the walk-ins, but I always thought the dry storage upstairs would have been a good spot. Now I'm curious who the hell was having sex in the walk-ins. I never caught anybody up in the dry storage above the catering prep area, too much traffic. But the tree room walk-in after brunch service was done for the grill. Yeah, dishwashers and randers with the occasional server/hostess thrown in. Never trust glass in rooms. Grass are so stretched thin on time that they will clean the glasses with the same rags they clean the bathroom. After all, their goal is to make the room look clean. I worked as a gra in a 5-diamond 4 years, and there was over a year period that went by where we didn't get a clean glass delivery. We didn't have dishwashers in the room, so management was complicit. This was in a 5-diamond, one of the top resorts in the world. Never trust glass in hotel rooms. Suddenly the sealed plastic cups at Holiday Inn seem 5-star to me. It was your comment that made me realize my dumb A was thinking windows. There is a reason we use sealed cups, and it's literally this reason. That is vile. I guess I'm glad I know. Didn't work at one, but delivered newspapers to one. The prostitution thing was something the desk saw a lot. The best one was when the gentleman got robbed by 2 young ladies and immediately demanded the front desk call the cops. When the desk asked if he wanted to call the cops and tell them he hired 2 hookers, illegal, he suddenly just grunted and marched up to his room. I worked night audit for a while and had one dude call a hooker, enjoy her services, and then refuse to pay her. She came to me, said she'd been RA'd, so I called the cops. Dude gets rousted from bed at 3 AM to talk to the cops in the lobby. The whole time she's yelling, "If you need a DNA sample, I've got some in my mouth." The cops are trying to explain to the guy that his options are paying her or going to jail for RE and solicitation. And I'm trying to use my best customer service skills to keep everyone quiet and gently hint to the dude where the ATM is. The best part was, this was night 1 of a week-long stay, so I got to see him every day after that. So it's basically, pay the hooker, motherfucker. The cops are trying to explain to the guy that his options are paying her or going to jail for RE and solicitation. Lol. Even the cops don't care about prostitution. Watching for signs of sex trafficking. Lots of cheating spouses there under fake names, and you can't confirm if they're there when the spouse calls pissed. Jacuzzi and swimming pool deaths, usually from alcohol. Guests expose themselves to female staff frequently, especially housekeepers and room service. People will legit give you keys to their rooms, sometimes dealing with really shy organizations for their banquets income, etc. One cool thing is that you can buy pillows, mattresses, etc. from many hotel brands if you really enjoyed your sleep at a hotel. I used to work at a hotel when I was maybe 20 where this man came in with 2 young women, definitely teens, and never let them speak. They'd come back somewhat bruised. Then he started coming in with other men, and the girls, everything paid in cash. My manager said it happens, leave it. A woman told me the next morning she thinks she was RA'd by the same men. She woke up naked in her room, beat up, and with pain in her genitals, after having drinks with them. Management again, leave it. She's crazy and was drunk. So I called the police and corporate and left that day. Detective called me a couple days later for a report and to come in and ID the man, as well as some customers of the man. Turns out the girls were underage and not from here is all I was told. Manager was investigated as a participant and fired. Thank you for what you did. Good on you for not listening to that asshole manager. You helped a lot of people that day. You should be proud of yourself. I stayed at a Marriott one night and it was the best sleep I ever had. The mattress was fantastic. Went home and called Marriott to ask what kind of mattress it was, and got one moment let me transfer you to our mattress sales department. One surprised Frank and triple. $1,300 and 2 weeks later Marriott delivered a king size to my door. I'm sure my ex is still sleeping in complete comfort 15 years later. There is one aloft I stay at that has those long tube pillows. One is firm, the other is soft. I freaking love those pillows. Each aloft is different as sometimes the pillows suck. When we see Instagram influencer on your booking, we roll our eyes. I think this is pretty universal reaction. I know a person who runs a vegan restaurant and he's often hit by requests to get free food from reviewers and social media influencers. Most of them also turn pretty vile when denied and react with threats of smear campaigning the place, etc. At a certain Beverly Hills hotel, where I valet for a short amount of time, many stars' cars are just left there. They come and get them whenever. There was also a code name for Justin Bieber who visited often. I can't remember it. He picked it himself. His G-Wagon and a Bentley were just kept down there free of charge. Usher also left his bike there a few years back and has just never collected it. Dead people. In some places there's a reasonable chance somebody has died in your bed. Obviously it varies with the type of hotel and its clientele. But some places you get deaths weekly. Not that the hotel is unsafe, but unfit old people overexerting themselves. One place I worked maybe 40% of the beds had been died in. Bed bugs. They happen in every hotel. You might be paying $5K a night, but your luggage was in the hold with everyone else's. If there's only 1 or 2 bugs and none in the adjacent rooms, diamond style, so above, below, and both sides, then you brought them in. You know what I never saw happen? Maid stealing. Everyone always points at the maids when they lose stuff, but we always found it. No way the maids are risking their jobs over your used iPad or mall jewelry. With tips they make pretty decent money. Tip about bed bugs. When you arrive never put your luggage on the bed. When you arrive, keep lights off. Put luggage in bathroom, and then at the head of the mattress peel back the sheets and mattress pad. Bed bugs tend to congregate there, but scatter when there is light. If you find bed bugs, you can request another room. You can request another room, or another hotel. Coke. Lots of Coke. If it wasn't so bad for me, I'd drink it every day. I went and had a drink with a couple buddies for the first time in a long time a couple weeks ago. My friend looking at his phone, other dude we know says he just got here, and it's snowing out front. If anyone's interested, me so what? It just snowed, like last week. I don't get out much even before COVID. What goes on the room next to you? This week we to evict and have arrested a couple for causing over $15,000 in damages to a room. This was done quietly late at night and the nearby rooms never found out. I can't think of a way I could casually cause $15,000 in damages in a night without being noisy. Were they doing it maliciously just to cause damage? They touched the mini fridge. If you're sneaky you could quietly pull up the carpet and then just paint the entire room with diarrhea. This wasn't a 5-star by any stretch, but while in training to install kitchen cabinets for this one company they put the majority of people up in a hotel. This one day we got all our tools to use on the job. Chop saw, drills, table saw, etc, etc. This hotel gave 1 free beer per person, and these guys from training were getting a lot more than 1 beer. That night they decide to take apart all the furniture in the room and install it on the roof. The company was hit with that bill of course. They were not amused. They also changed house slash when they gave out tools as well. That's how you prevent later groups from getting the free beer. The scale. Management wants things to be automatic for you. A person there when you need them and every item you could need before you need it. But the scale of that is purposefully hidden. For example, you see your housekeeper. You might see that there are 5 other housekeepers on that floor, a houseman per floor and a special request delivery person. If you look closely, you don't see the 4 to 6 desk workers manning the radios, so that we know when to enter certain rooms. Who wants special pillows? How we manage the 3 rooms that all want service at 1 PM, or replacing rooms that asked for no service. You don't see the 6 supervisors spot checking checkout rooms for cleanliness, nor do you see the laundry teams, plural. Sheets and guest laundry are separate, and guest is split into dry cleaning and non-dry clean. You might see the public parlor attendants, but you probably won't see the team cleaning the pool or deep cleaning the gym sauna. At 7:30 AM every morning, the service area just explodes with activity, like you kicked two ant nests at once. 60 housekeepers on a single shift. Guess it's a slow day, and that's just housekeeping. We have 3 industrial scale kitchens for various purposes. 4 if you count pastries. Security teams. Contact companies for large events. Teams of engineers in every specialty. I don't even know where the head office is, but we do have one. I'm one of the more knowledgeable on where to find items for special requests, and I still find new storage rooms every other week. We found a 1930s printing press nobody knew we had. It's effing wild how many moving parts there are. Flipping 500 rooms in a day while setting up 4 to $1 million weddings simultaneously. Fulfilling 100 room service orders while catering those weddings while running our restaurant. Fixing a leaky shower head in the pool while ensuring a guest had an extra couch in their room for the kid that just loves couch beds. All of this together is called an average Tuesday in summer. This reads like a hotel management montage early in an Ocean's movie complete with Brad Pitt voice theater.